ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Inside the Foul podcast brings you the opinions and perspectives of a couple best friends. And if you don't like that call, we've got 3 words for you. You're out of here. We are your hosts this week, coming in relief, Chris and Ethan.
I don't know if we can do as good a job as our guest did.
Listen, I don't know if many can. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But baseball's always had larger-than-life characters, the players whose numbers demand respect, whose careers speak for themselves, and whose personalities somehow manage to be every bit as memorable as their accomplishments. Today's guest is one of those rare players. Heath Bell's journey to the major leagues wasn't supposed to happen. Drafted in the 69th round, he entered professional baseball with odds stacked against him from the very beginning. But baseball is a funny way of rewarding persistence, and Heath spent the next decade turning doubt into one of the most accomplished relief pitching careers of his generation. Over 13 major league seasons, Heath became one of the most reliable arms in the game. He earned 3 All-Star selections, collected nearly 170 career saves, received multiple Reliever of the Year honors, and spent years staring down the most dangerous hitters in baseball with the game hanging in the balance. Whether it was New York, San Diego, Miami, Arizona, or Tampa, Heath built a reputation as the kind of pitcher every manager wanted holding the ball in the late innings. The statistics tell the story of excellence, but the respect he earned throughout the game tells an even bigger one. Because while many players are remembered for what they did, Heath is remembered for how he made people feel. He played the game with joy, he competed with intensity, and he never lost sight of the fact that baseball is supposed to be fun. That's why fans still remember the famous All-Star Game entrance, not because of a headfirst slide across the infield, but because perfectly captured who Heath Bell was. In a sport that often asks players to hide their personalities, Heath embraced his. He reminded everyone that you can be an elite competitor and still enjoy every second of the ride. The truth is, long before the slide, Heath Bell had already earned his place among the game's best relievers. The slide just gave us a snapshot of the person behind the player. Today we're talking about the journey from draft pick to all-star, the pressure of closing games at the highest level, the lessons learned across 13 major league seasons, and the mindset it takes to survive and thrive, when every appearance could determine the outcome of a game. He is one of the most accomplished relievers of his era, one of baseball's great personalities, and someone who never stopped bringing energy to the ballpark. We're honored to have him with us. Heath Bell, thank you for joining Inside the Foul.
Thanks, man. All I gotta say, if I'm gonna write a book, you're gonna help me do it because you can say some really good words.
Hey, I'll help. Let's go. Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan.
So, before we get into the career and the highlights, take us back to childhood. What was baseball like? What was, home life like with, your parents and everything? Like, who pushed you to be who you were?
I think it was just me. My mom, my dad supported me. I always wanted to be a Major League Baseball player ever since I was my parents think probably around 5, 6 years old. There's this story my dad said. We went to an Angel game, and he was like, "Dad, that's what I want to do when I get older. I want 50,000 people to cheer me or boo me." And he's like, "Son, why boo you?" And I was like, "Because I'm on the other team beating the home team." So I always wanted to play ball. My mom would try to play catch with me or throw wiffle balls for me to hit. She'd stand in there when I'm throwing a batting or a bullpen with no catcher. My dad would play games with me when he came home, if the sun was still up, and just play catch. I was always outside with the ball, throwing it against the garage door or throwing it up in the air, pretending to be, an outfielder or pitcher or whatever in that situation. I actually played video games. I had the old video game when Nintendo 64 came out. I got Nintendo or Genesis. When everybody had Nintendo or Sega, I got Atari. So, but I used to keep stats on the video game players that I actually played. So I, got a hit, write it down, got a hit. So I loved the game and I always wanted to play Major League Baseball. And I accomplished my dream.
Did you always want to be a pitcher, though?
Yes, in high school, in Little League, I was always a pitcher and hitter, but in high school, I had more fun throwing batting practice to my buddies in the cage than I did hitting. If you talked to me back in high school, they'd be like, he loved pitching for some reason. He could hit, but he loved pitching. He would throw batting practice to all of us, and we're like, hey, do you want to hit some? And I'll be like, oh, I'll hit some later. So I just, I could hit the ball pretty far, but I loved pitching for some reason.
So at what point did you realize that maybe it really could be more than just a dream for baseball for you?
I don't know. I mean, it was like become reality. Here's the thing. I spent so many years in the minor leagues. People said I wasn't going to make it. I got married in the minors. My wife was telling me to quit. Even when I got traded to San Diego, she's like, you need to quit. All the media says that they want Royce Ring. They don't want you. You're just a throw-in guy. You've already been there to the big leagues. You're not going to have a career. I mean, and I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And it wasn't like I was trying to prove my high school coach wrong or my college coach or whoever doubted me. It was just, I felt like this was what I was going to do, and I wasn't going to give up until I accomplished it. And, I felt like internally I was going to be a big league player. I didn't think it was going to take that long to get there, but, I just embraced it and I loved it. And like my dad said, keep playing the game until, it becomes a job. And then you know when to retire. And I wanted to see my kids because I retired in 15 because one of my kids was graduating, the other one was going into high school, and I got some offers to go back, and I wanted to coach my kid in Little League, another one, and I still played in a men's league until this last summer. I just kind of decided, hey, I need to give it up a little bit and spend a little bit more time, taking care of my body. But ever since I retired, I've been playing in a men's league, 18 and over, or the last 2 or 3 years I've been playing in the 30 and older, just because I can't go as fast as the 18-year-olds.
Do you know how intimidating that would be? Yeah.
Listen, if you come up on the mound, I'm going to look at you and be like, yeah, well, I'm just going to go ahead and stand here and look at him.
Well, the funny part is now, the last couple of years, what's been fun for me is I try not to throw as hard, but I can get the ball to move in different directions. And people, and I'll be throwing like 70 like most guys. I mean, I could rear back, but I don't think it's as fun where there's times that guys like, throw a knuckleball. So then I'll throw a knuckleball, and see if you can hit it, So, but I think I get the kick out of when I face these guys. If they hit a hit off me or this and that, they're like, dude, I got a hit off Heath Bell and this and that. And, honestly, the next week I totally forget about it. And they're talking about it for, the next year. Hey, I remember I got a hit off your curveball. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, cool. But, for me, it's nothing, but I love to just bring smiles to everybody's face. If I really need to get somebody out, I can. But it's fun for me. I had a great time. I'm having a good time out there.
See, I love that because that means that baseball never stopped being fun for you. Even with the highs and lows of playing baseball, like even with like you said, the people that you had saying, maybe you should just hang it up and still pushing and having fun with the game. Like what mindset did you have that allowed you to maintain that?
I'm getting paid to play baseball. I'm getting paid to play a kid's game. And then even though in the minors I was getting paid like $500 every 2 weeks, I was still getting paid to play ball. And then I got paid millions of dollars to do it. And it was like, this is so cool. And then people would ask me at the end of the season, I always remember, so what do you do to decompress after the season? Do you go on a trip or this and that? And I'm like, I go home and take my kids to school. Like I'm no longer a baseball player. I'm a dad. And my wife would always ask, what we go to any restaurant or wherever you want to go, like at the end of the season. And I'm like, I just want a home cooked meal. And she's like, what? What kind of meal? And I'm like, just a home cooked meal. Like, I just want a meal at home. So, just a regular guy that worked really hard, that accomplished his dream. And I'm still like, baffled that I got baseball cards of myself. I still collect my own cards, and it's, yeah, I'm still a big fan of baseball. I collect other people's cards too. But I'm not like the big card junkie, like kind of my young kid is. You got to get this one and that one. Where I used to get cards from Jeter and Bonds and all these guys, and I gave them to my kid. He's 22 now. And when he was like 9 or 10, because he was around the game when I was, playing, he just passed them out to his friends. And he's like, at 22, he's like, man, I wish I still had those. And I was like, it's all right. It's no biggie. When I went to the All-Star game and everybody knew who I was, that's what was like mind-blowing for me, because I never thought I was a big star. I just wanted to play ball, and everybody's like, Heath, you're great. If we had you, we'd go to the World Series. We need a player like you. I'm like, really? So I guess I'm on my own little world, as my wife would probably say.
I will second that. As a lifelong Braves fan, I was like, man, if we had Heath come in, I'm like, I don't see anybody beating us. We got the Jones boys. All we need is,
So, you finally get that call up to the majors. What was that call like? What do you remember from that day?
Okay, so we were in Charlotte, South Carolina, I think it was. And we used to play pranks on everybody. And
No.
that year in spring training, they asked me if we don't have any room for you in AAA, you can have your release. And I was like, man, I got 3 kids. I need a job. So they said, well, there's a spot in AA, and I've already been in AAA for 2 years. And I'm like, I'll go there. Well, 2 days later, I'm in AAA because somebody got hurt. And then 2.5 months later, we're in Charlotte, and playing. We had a day game, and the Olympics were on. And I went to my room to kind of crash, and then the hotel phone rings, and the trainer is like, hey, the coaches are downstairs. You're getting called up. They want to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, like F you. I was like, there's no way. And he's like, no, seriously. So I'm like, okay. So I come down the elevator, walk around the corner, like peeking my head, thinking they're, because I was a lot wanted to do some pranks and stuff and joke around with guys. And I'm like, are they going to try to get me here? Coach is like, come over here. And they're like, congrats. It's been a long time. You should have got called up a lot sooner, blah, blah, blah. So I go to go to the locker room, get all my stuff, go to the airplane, go to Shea Stadium in New York. Just tell myself this is just a regular game. Don't look at the stands. Just pay attention to the field. I play against the San Diego Padres. I strike the first guy out on 3 straight fastballs. The next batter, I struck him out on a changeup, the best changeup I've still thrown to this day. And it was really cool. Let's put it this way. So here's my little story really quick. The next day I come in, my parents fly in from California, so is my wife. And we're there. This was like a Sunday. I get called, so I'm playing Monday. So they don't get to see me Monday. They get up there like Monday night, but after the game. And then Tuesday I go to batting practice, and they say, hey, we just picked somebody off waivers. We're going to send you down. Okay. And they're like, we know your parents are here. You can stay 3 days before we send you down, blah, blah. And I said, well, I want to go back to AAA on Wednesday so I can get ready so I can come back up. And Art Howe was like, okay, I respect that. That's cool. You spend 1 day, Tuesday night with the family. So I did that. Well, so Wednesday I went down to AAA. My family, my wife and my parents were there. And they were like, well, this kind of sucks to be in New York without Heath. So Wednesday, they changed their flights to Thursday morning. So Thursday morning, they flew out. Thursday morning, I get a phone call. Hey, you're going back to the big leagues. So I come back up, and I stay there the rest of the season. So the first year, my parents didn't get to see me play because we already did the West Coast games in person. my dad was a mechanic and a Marine, so they didn't have much money. And basically getting to the big leagues basically took me out of poverty because I was in debt, big time. Then at the end of the season, my wife comes up, the last homestand to help me pack up my bags and stuff and drive home. And after the last game of the year, I'm taking my bags, walking to the hotel across to the Red Roof Inn across from Shea Stadium with one of the clubbies and my wife, and I just start laughing. And they're like, "What are you laughing about?" Because nobody was talking. And I go, "Dude, I'm in the big leagues. I'm in the effing big leagues." And Mike, the clubbie, goes, "You've been here for like 3 months. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I never let myself realize I was in the big leagues because I was up there and I had a job to do to get people out." And I said, "This is what I want to do." And I just told myself, it's the same thing as AAA. It's the same thing as A-ball, just, same dimensions, 60 feet, 6 inches, 90 feet. It's a bigger stadium. And I just really embraced it. And then I just, that's how my life went. Those big moments where like tie game, don't go out there. Runners on or something like that, games on the line. It was just me going, "Hey, I got to throw the ball to the catcher, and if I hit my spot, I'm going to win." That's how it is. Barry Bonds comes to Petco Park.
Go for it.
Barry Bonds comes to Petco Park and ties the record off Clay Hensley. And for some reason, everybody's going nuts, this and that. For some reason, I thought he broke the record. So I was the next pitcher that faced him. And I ended up getting him out. He flew the ball left field. I hit threw a backdoor breaking ball. He hit it. I knew he didn't get a good left field, fly ball. And after the game, the media comes to me and goes, "Hey, what was it like facing Barry?" And I was like, Barry's a really good hitter, one of the best hitters in the game. Nothing big. They're like, but that ball that he hit could have been the game, the go ahead, the record breaking home run. And I went, "Didn't he do that off Clay?" And they were like, "No, he tied it off Clay." I was like, "Oh, geez, did not know that." And then the next batter he faced was a friend of mine, Mike Bassick, that I knew from years ago in the Mets. He hit the home run to break the record. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize I was the next pitcher. So maybe I would have gave it up to him if I would have knew about it, because I was like, oh, he already broke it. If I give him a home run, it's not a big deal. And I just went right after him. So, I guess you'd say, like, I just took things and just did, I paid attention to the small things. And that's why I think I had a good career, where I just went out and, just did the little things to do to help my career and to help my team win the game.
Was there something about the majors that surprised you when you first got there?
Yeah, the clubbies do everything for you, and everybody does everything for you. Like, if you put, like, I would take my shirt off because it was sweaty after batting practice and put it down. They would, like, grab it, and I'm like, dude, I'll throw it in the hamper, because I'm used to doing stuff myself. And they're like, no, I got it. So it was more like the clubbies realized after a while they didn't have to do everything for me. Like, I would do it, because my first couple of years in the minors, my host family was the clubbie. And then I had to stay and help him do laundry so we could go home early. And in the minors, I would do that all the time. So I'm still friends with a lot of the clubbies around the league and even in the minor leagues that I know.
Man.
That's kind of cool. I didn't
Well,
know
like,
that
here's
about
the other
the
part.
clubbies.
I never realized that most major league players have never had a real job. Put it that way. Like, when I was 16, I was helping the family support. I think I was paying the water bill or something, because I was trying to help the family out. And most major league players have never worked a day in their life, or, well, I delivered pizzas, or I worked for my dad's friend or something, like, not really working. Like, I had to go to an interview. I worked through my way through college. I'm not forklift certified anymore because I haven't renewed my license, but I used to be. Used to drive a forklift. Worked for UPS. Yeah, I've had many jobs, and worked construction through high school with my brother, and he showed me how to do roofing because my older brother did roofing, and I was up there. And it's funny part is since I've retired, I still kind of work for my brother once in a while. If he needs help, people need a electrical issue or a plumbing issue or roofing. I'm in there with my tool belt. I've built a home with them, and nobody has no idea who the heck I am. And I've replaced toilets. So I had a friend that I met in San Diego. This is a true story. He's an ex-pro surfer I helped his kid, and then we became friends. And then he's a plumber. He has his own plumbing company. And I was like, "You want to go hang out? I got an off day." And he's like, "Yeah, I got one job. We got to replace the toilet." And I said, "Dude, I'll come with you." So I'm replacing the toilet with him, and people are looking at me like, "Hey, you kind of look like Heath Bell." Yeah, I get that a lot. So, and this is me playing. Go to people's homes, and they're like, "You look familiar." And I go, "I kind of have that face, this and that." And I would just go do things like that. It was fun for me. So just, if I was in the world now with people do all the social media and stuff, I'd probably have 1 million viewers or this, that, or something but then I just did it for fun. Just had a good time doing it, helping people out.
Can you imagine being that kid that's like, "Mom, that's Heath Bell." "No, it's not. I just asked him."
Yeah. He's not going to be changing our toilet. He's not going to be doing this. "Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's me."
He's going to be hanging out in Cancun somewhere.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. And I'm
what-
like, I would rather just hang out in my backyard.
It's amazing.
What part of your personality made you a natural fit for the closer role?
I don't think like everybody else. I think differently, like there was this one game in Seattle. It was 1-0. I look up. I have like 2 guys on. Milton Bradley's up. I have no outs. It's 3 balls, no strikes. And I had to look at the scoreboard. It was like mid-season. And I was like, "Oh, crap. I got to bear down and get this." I thought we were up by a couple runs or whatever. It felt like it was going through spring training. It was just one of those July days. And I reared back, and I ended up striking Milton out and got the next 2 out. I think I struck one of the 2 out, and then got out of the inning. We won the game. Basically, I saved the game. And then the trainer was putting ice on my shoulder, and he's like, "Hey, what happened to you after like Milton's 3-0?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You were throwing like 95, 96, but then as soon as it was 3-0, every pitch was 98, 99 miles an hour the rest of the inning, and you got out of the inning." And I go, "Really?" I don't know. I felt like I was just in the motion. I had so many saves in a row where I was just kind of going through the motion. And then I looked up and I was like, "Crap, I got 2 guys on, and Milton. Milton's one of the best hitters I ever thought." And I just felt like I had to bear down and get people out. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." It just, he's like, "Geez, you were just in a haze?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." Here's the thing. I always felt that I got to come to the field and people paid for me to play, and I embraced the fans. I'd play catch with the fans. I always cherished them. It was kind of like banana ball, how it's fans first, Jesse says. And I always felt like the fans were very important, where most players are like, "Hey, they get to come watch me." And I'm like, "No, I get to play for them." So I think the closer's role, just because I think differently, and I'm not scared in those situations. And like what one of my kids said, the extreme games guys, BMX and motorcycle
Yeah.
guys that fly all over the place, being scared is like fun for them. And he goes, "I think that's you, Dad. When pressure is on, you seem to have a good time. Like when things are going wrong, you're always calm and cool, and you're like, I got this. I'll figure it a way out. You're never like freaking out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah."
I hate to say this, but that's the perfect title for a book.
What's that?
You know, when in doubt, have fun when the pressure's on.
Yeah, something like that. See, you guys are going to help me write a book one day. Honestly, if you want to
So,
write a book,
you
I
brought
need
up-
like a ghostwriter. I could just tell stories and this and that, and you put it all the words together and put it in chapters, and there we go. Because I got a lot of
100%.
memory stories. Just got to write it.
Listen, I've never like been so excited about the podcast, but someone that grew up watching you play, I am like a little kid in a candy store just listening. I don't even have to talk. I just sit here, just like, man.
Well, those were my exact words at the All-Star game. People are asking me, "Hey, what's it like?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm a kid at Christmas morning. This is awesome. You know, Santana knows who I am. Albert Pujols, you know, it's just like, wow, these guys know me." So yeah, it's a good time.
Well, you brought up Banana Ball, and I kind of wanted to talk about that too. Also, you got to go back to Petco and be the celebrity player for that game with the Bananas. What was that like?
It was awesome, but see, I played 2 other times with the guys before they like really got famous. They were starting to be famous. I played with the Party Animals and the Bananas. And what was really cool about the Petco Park time is when I went down to the clubhouse and everybody was like, all the players, like the firefighters and the Savannah Bananas were like, "Heath, how you doing, man? It's great to see you again, this and that." And I'm like, "Dude, I haven't seen these guys in a year." And they're all talking to me. And then they were like, "Are you going to slide? Are you going to slide? You got to slide." And I'm like, I'm getting up there in age. I don't know. I haven't slid in like, a couple of years. And they're like, "You got to slide." And then the grounds crew that I know, Matt, he's like, "You can't slide on the grass, man. Come on, you got to keep it nice." And I was like, what if I slide at second base? He's like, "Perfect. Do that. It's on the dirt." So that's why I slid into second and went there. I would say it was really cool. Words can't explain how fun that was to go and face one guy at Petco Park again and, play with those guys. Those guys are really good. And, but just how good they are. They're really good at baseball and they're really good entertainers and they put it all together. I think if I was growing up, I would probably want to play for the Savannah Bananas or one of their teams, probably more than Major League Baseball, because that's kind of me. The unfortunate part is I'm probably 20 or 30 years older than I should be to try out for them. But I actually told my 16-year-old son when he graduates high school, maybe I'll go to one of the tryouts and be like the old fart on the team or something, try to do something. I don't know. But yeah. I probably have to divorce my wife to do that because she would be like, "You're nuts." So, but that would be fun to do. Be the old guy on one of the old teams. So.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, listen, you only have to throw an inning. You may not, just little stuff. Just treat it like men's league. So
totally do that.
You had a very different approach when it came to coming out of the bullpen, right? You would sprint out of the bullpen after getting the call. And that's not just, once. That was every time you left the bullpen. What made you do that? And walk us through like what's going through your head when the bullpen phone rang and you're going in.
Well, you kind of know when you're getting ready to go in the game. Everybody's got their roles. The thing is, I like to sweat when I was pitching. And I kind of learned that if I sprinted out there, that my blood would be flowing and I'd sweat and this and that. But I'm telling you, when I started closing, the crowd would cheer and it would just make me run faster. And that's what it was. Yeah. The crowd would go nuts and I was just like winning a race. I'm going to get there. So, it was just, that's kind of how it came about. I sprinted fast, but not like my fastest. And then as soon as the crowd would cheer, even in the minors, the crowd would go nuts, I would sprint faster. I mean, it's just kind of something that just started that way. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to sprint in and do this. I jogged in really fast just to keep the blood flowing and like to sweat when I was younger, like in high school. I would always jog out there really quick, where Turk Wendell is a friend of mine now, but he used to jump over the line. And there's this big story that pitchers don't ever touch the foul line. So I started this in high school. I would jump on the line when I go out and come back. And I did that my whole career, and I didn't even do it in the minors. The only difference is when I started closing, I didn't jump on the line, but if I could do a 2-inning save, I would jump on the line. I would, just before I grabbed my, shook my manager's hand because he was already at the foul line, I'd go down and wipe the foul line and then shake his hand. It was kind of something that I just did to kind of prove pitchers can touch the line. It's okay. And nobody ever wrote a story about that, and that was the funny part. But I never told people the stuff I did because I didn't want to be like that guy that's different. I just wanted to be me, and that was it. I jumped on the line, and one coach in college was like, "Why do you touch the line?" People say, I go, "Watch every pitcher. It's like taboo to touch the line, so I'm going to prove them wrong." So, yeah, that's how I started touching the line and jumping the line, and was like, I just don't understand why people think it's taboo.
So that means that you probably don't believe too much in superstitions like most baseball players.
Well, here's the thing is superstitions. I believe if it makes you pitch better or hit better, go ahead and do it, because I'm a big believer in if you feel good, you're comfortable, then you usually do really well. But I'm not a big believer in, people say, well, Heath, you might have had superstition because you wore a necklace from your daughter they gave you, your oldest daughter. And I said, yeah, but it was at $20 at, Universal Studios, because so many people are like, I got some cleaner. And I'm like, dude, the paint's wheeling off. I'm glad it hasn't turned my neck green. But during some games, some of the guys would be like, dude, you don't have your necklace on. And I'd go, oh, yeah, I forgot to put it on. They're like, you want me to go get it? I'm like, no, I'll get it later. Because it was more like I tried to do it to represent my daughter, my kids. I wore a camo undershirt, the same one pretty much my whole career, to represent my dad that was a Marine. But it wasn't like I had to wear it, because there were some games like, when I went to the Marlins, I tried to get a different camo shirt. I couldn't really find one because camo wasn't really popular. But then sometimes the coaches didn't like it, so I tried to button it up so I didn't wear it. And then it got ratty, so you couldn't see it underneath. But, yeah, it was just stuff that, like, this is what I wear when I go. It wasn't like a superstitious thing. It was more just like, this is my uniform. This is what I do. So, like, I'd listen to Linkin Park most of the time before every game. But then there were some moods that it was a day game and I wanted to listen to Frank Sinatra or Bob Marley. So I just listened to those before the game.
That's
I'm a little all over the place
fantastic.
with music.
I felt that.
This is amazing. What is the single greatest moment of your baseball career to you?
Oh, there's so many that I have. I mean, the All-Star games are great. The first game ever. The first time I was a closer with San Diego and Trevor was gone. Pitching at Shea Stadium, getting my first save in Shea Stadium, getting the first save ever at Citi Field. I don't know if I have a number one moment. Probably my biggest moment that I wish I could go back and do over and over and over again is when my son was during batting practice. I'd have him out there and he'd be shagging balls with me and like power shagging. I love to power shag. Just probably doing that with my kid. And he was like, 5 to 10, that range, where we just run out, pretend like we're outfielders catching the ball back and forth. That was probably the moments that I wish I could go back and repeat over and over again.
You've had a career full of all these highlights and personal accomplishments, but the one that you want to share the most is the one with your kid just playing ball. Like that's fantastic. I love that. As a dad myself, you don't get those moments back, but that is fantastic.
Yeah, he's 22, almost 23 now. He doesn't play ball anymore. But he's 6'4". He was a good ball player. Just college wasn't for him. And then he's working and he loves sports. I mean, he's a sports nut. And the funny part is, he's like, man, I just don't understand why they can't throw strikes or they can't hit this. And I used to be like, it's kind of hard. He's like, I know, but they should just be able to do it. And I'm just thinking like when Manny swings and misses at a curveball or something, he's like, we just lay off it. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, you couldn't lay off it. Like, when you were in high school, I used to tell you that, but I don't say that. And I'm just like, come on, bud. These guys are trying. I was there. They're trying their best. It's hard. But I just go, yeah, okay. All right. So, but, I just wish I could go back when he was little and just like, hey, let's just go play catch in the backyard. Because he doesn't like throwing anymore. Because it reminds him that he kind of gave up on baseball, where if he didn't give up, he probably would have made it or at least had a chance. But, it was his decisions and stuff. And my kids, everybody's going to have their own path in life. And, I'll just try to, embrace whatever path they're taking. And as long as they're happy, that's all that really matters.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about your 2010 season. You posted a fantastic season that year, pitched a 6-1 record with a 1.93 ERA and 47 saves that year. Something, because it started the season before with the 42 saves. Something started clicking around that time. What made the difference?
I don't know. I think maybe me and the catcher, Nick Hundley, just got into a good groove. It was a point where me and Nick we were talking without talking, just fingers and head movements, where he could say fastball away to a lefty, and I would know that he would want a two-seamer away. Because we never did the one and the wiggle the fingers use a two-seamer. I just wanted fastball, and then I told him I would either decide to throw a two-seamer because it didn't move that much to break his thumb or anything. It just moved a little bit, or a four-seamer. And or there would be times that he'd throw curveball down, and I'd say no, and he would go curveball, and I'm like, okay, you see something I do. We just communicated really well, and I think that's just probably what happened. Plus, I think also Luke Gregerson and Mike Adams, guys that pitched right before me, and Joe Thatcher, we just had a stellar bullpen, and all 4 of us were really good, and we all embraced each other. We all tried to help each other out. If they left runners on and we came in, we took pride of not letting those runners up, and, the inherited runners, not let our buddy down. And I think those 2 years, the 4 of us, we were just good, and we all fed off each other. And we, eventually Mike and Luke became closers for a couple of years, and I just think we all just kind of blossomed right at the same time, and that's just what made me look so good because of those other guys, the catcher and those other pitchers.
That's really cool.
So you talk about the camaraderie there with the bullpen. I've seen some things at games. You'll get to watch them in the bullpen. They're playing with bottle caps and kicking them to each other. What goes on in the bullpens?
Well, we did some stuff that I'm not going to say, but then our biggest thing is we would flick seeds, and we used to see how we could get seeds to go about maybe 20 or 30 yards. Like we got really good at flicking seeds, and then like trying to go into a cup, or maybe like trying to hit some fans that nobody knew that we were hitting. In Seattle, we'd try to get the left fielder, and we would hit him. Like, I think he got annoyed. We were hitting him all the time. But yeah, for us, it was just flicking seeds and then maybe doing some other things. But the main thing was probably flicking seeds at everybody.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, why is that?
Well, because then there were seeds all over the field. They got to pick them up because the seed, it makes the grass not nice and stuff and the dirt. So.
See, I didn't know that. Okay, fair. I could see how that would be annoying for a grounds person.
So which bullpens made it harder to hit the left fielder? I'm curious now.
Well, I mean, Petco, you're basically in center, so that you can't hit the left fielder there. It just depends where the bullpen is. I mean, in Seattle, you're right behind the left fielder. So, I mean, it was just perfect. It was like perfect spot for us, perfect storm for the left fielder for us. We're the only ones that could get to him. You could see him scoot in closer to home. So we were like, hey, we're helping him out. Just hit the ball hard to left field. He's playing shallow. So, but yeah, it's just, little things like that. You just mess around. But sometimes bullpens are underneath or in center or off to the side. So, like in Chicago, they were on the field. In San Francisco, they're on the field. We used to talk to the fans all the time.
So we briefly talked about your all-star appearances, but the one in particular that I want to talk about is the one where you slid into the pitcher's mound. My question there is why? What made you want to slide?
How it started is Derek Jeter and Dustin Pedroia both got hurt, came back. A couple years earlier, fans were like, players don't care about the All-Star game. They're just there for a paycheck. And they both said, Dustin and Derek's like, well, my number one thing is my team, not the All-Star game, so I'm not sure if I'm going to go. And I was like, I got selected, and I was like, dude, I got to bring fun back to baseball. How can I bring fun? And we had a Yoda backpack instead of a pink backpack for the rookie. So I brought a Yoda backpack, put a bunch of All-Star stuff in, gave it to fans. They didn't know it, but I told my team, hey, I'm going to slide. And they're like, where'd you get this idea? And I'm like, the movie from Angels in the Outfield, because the guy that did it, his name was Bass, and Anthony Bass was on our team, and that just reckoned in my head. I was like, I got to slide. And they're like, you can't do that. Well, anyway, I get to the All-Star game. I talked to Pablo Sandoval, make sure everybody gets out of the way. I'm going to slide into the mound when I come in. Then Bochy gives this inspirational speech, and I'm thinking, man, I can't slide. We got to, we're up by like 4 runs, but I'm just thinking, we can't slide. So then I sprint in, didn't know a camera guy was behind me. Otherwise, I would have turned around and waved. That's one thing I regret at baseball. And then if you see, because I never looked up until I hit the infield dirt. My always fear was like I was by the dugout before I saw dirt. And when I look up, I slow down on the infield dirt. Then Sandoval gets everybody out of the way. Then I speed back up, slide. Bochy's just like, geez. And, everybody's laughing. And, that's kind of what it was. And I was like, all right, let's go. And Molina was like, all right, let's go. That's how it kind of came about. If Pablo Sandoval never got everybody out of the way, Bochy would have made me not slide, because he gave me an inspirational speech as in, guys, the All-Star game matters. We won the World Series last year as the Giants because we had home field advantage, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't do it. But I didn't tell anybody about Pablo. And then, when he get out there, I was like, all right, got to do it because I told him. So
I feel like he's the perfect person to tell. The way he jokes around too, I feel like that would be the perfect person to have a cohort.
Yeah, for some reason, me and Pablo, we always had a good relationship. For some reason, when he came into bat, I would walk him. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure he didn't get a hit off me, and I walked him 11 times. And I know every time I walked him, we probably had a 10-pitch at bat. So for some reason, he would foul a bunch of pitches off, and then I'd end up walking him. So, but yeah, I don't know the stats. You're looking it up right now, but pretty sure I walked him way too many times. And it wasn't that I was scared of him. He just fouled stuff off. So I was always nibbling. Fouled off. I get him, we'd always be full count. And then I'd try to see, go a little bit farther, and he wouldn't. So.
So, what would you say? What's a story from your career that you feel deserves more attention?
I don't know. The only thing I could say is maybe I had a save record going that was like tied Trevor. And it was on Trevor Hoffman Day because he was,
Really?
and Chase Headley threw the ball and for some reason saw a gopher, and it was just a routine ground ball to third, and he bounced it to Adrian Gonzalez that he couldn't pick, and he usually picks everything, and that blew the save. We ended up winning the game, and so I tied the record, and everybody's like, "Oh, you could have broke the record on Trevor Hoffman Day," and I was like, "You can't break the record on Trevor Hoffman Day." And then I went off and did like 30 more saves or something like that after that. So I could have had a huge save record, but we always joked that Chase saw a gopher and tried to hit it. So it's like we're just routine, and they just root straight into the ground. So maybe Chase didn't want me to break the record, or Trevor paid Chase to break it or something like that.
So I found the stat line. Pablo Sandoval faced you 17 times during y'all's MLB careers.
Yeah.
He had 6 hits, 4 home runs, and 1 walk in 13 at bats.
Really? Okay, well, see, I'm
Really?
just nuts. Now I know that stat. I always thought I just walked him. So
No, not at all.
now I'm going to have a depressed day. He hit 4 home runs off me. Okay, you just ruined my week. You ruined my 4th of July weekend. Thank you. Now I'm always thinking about it. I'm out. See ya.
You were better than you thought you were. You thought you walked him.
Oh yeah. Now I know you got me back.
That's all he's gonna think.
Well, I let me put it this way.
So-
This is what I always like to say. Nobody ever hit a home run off me. I let you hit a home run off me. That's how I played the game. And so, Pablo, you're welcome for those 4 home runs.
There you go. That's fantastic. Who would you say your toughest hitter was that you faced over your career? Because you faced a lot of names.
For some reason, I think Todd Held probably hit the highest off me. Somebody
No,
told
we're
me
not
I
doing
had a
that again.
record. I had a record in Colorado with 25 or more innings. I never gave up a home run in Colorado or a double. But
Really?
for some reason, somebody said that one time. I don't know if it's true, but and I was like, really? But Todd Helton was the one guy that for some reason I just did not like facing. He was the one guy I just didn't like. Everybody else was fine. I mean, Barry Bonds, Matt Kemp, everybody that was really good. Ken Griffey Jr., I know he got me one time, but it was just like the guy that gave me the most trouble was Todd Helton for some reason.
Todd Helton is number 1 is Troy Tulowitzki. Troy Tulowitzki.
Really? Really?
Tulo?
Yep. With 19 with only 22 plate appearance, 2 hits, 1 double, 3 RBIs, 3 walks. He's the toughest one against Colorado.
Huh. Okay. Well, Tulo.
Have more strikeouts against Todd Helton. With 5.
Okay, well, see, you're just ruining my whole weekend right now. You
I
plain to
told you,
say,
stop looking up stats.
I'm not a stat guy, but I'll tell you, who I hated facing was Todd Helton. I didn't have a problem facing Sandoval or Tulo. Todd Helton, I just didn't like facing him.
He has a great record against my favorite player.
He has a great record against your favorite player?
Yes, he struck
that?
out Chipper twice.
Mm.
Chipper Jones.
I got a great story from Chipper. So it was one time in Atlanta, and it was like 2 outs, nobody on, we're up by 3, so I throw him a changeup first pitch, and I throw it. I think it was a strike. He looked at me and just went gave me the hand signal changeup, and I went yeah as the catcher threw it back to me, and he just kind of gave me a thumbs up good one, and I was like crap. Well, I never threw him a changeup ever again. And I asked him later on, I saw him the next year somewhere, and I said, hey, remember that changeup? And he goes, yeah, I didn't know you threw a changeup. And I'm like, I'm not throwing it to you. He's like, yeah, but it was good. I'm like, but you saw it the whole time. I said, why didn't you swing at it? He goes, because I was like, you don't throw a changeup. What is that? I'm like, well, you're never seeing that pitch again. So, yeah, I love the way Chipper played. You know, the cool part with me is, I mean, I grew up watching these guys, and even in the minor leagues, I was a huge fan of, you know, Chipper Jones, Barry Bonds, you know, all these guys. And, you know, Maddox, Glavine, Pedro Martinez, they all became my teammates at one time, you know, and I was just like in awe, like, dude, I'm really talking to these people. I know these guys. Oh my gosh. So, and occasionally somebody calls me or I see him somewhere and I'm just like, oh, you remember me? So I just think it's the coolest thing ever.
Man,
Oh.
that is so. Look, we could talk all day about all the people you
We
played
could.
with. But
I'm telling you, if you
So,
get some time,
you
let's sit down and write a book. And I'll proof it, and then we're good to go.
100%. I'm going to go and tell you. This is probably the most challenging podcast because I'm totally just speechless. Like, I'm just like, wow.
I love the energy. I love the
Yes.
fun. Like, it's fantastic. You talk about how you played for the fans. You know, you were there for the fans. And you talk about playing catch and interacting with the fans. What's the most memorable interaction you've had with a fan?
Well, at one All-Star game, I played catch with a fan. I took his glove. I gave him my glove. And then I ended up giving him one of my gloves. I have a daughter with Down syndrome. I met a Down syndrome girl that I still talk to this day in Milwaukee. Every time we go there, I give them tickets, the whole family. Yeah, there were certain cities in Chicago, same situation. I kind of knew this family just because they were near the bullpen, the kids and stuff. And so my nickname was Taco back in the day because my last name's Bell. Everybody tried to mess with me and it's like, oh, Taco Bell. Because I grew up in kind of a Hispanic area. And I just embraced it. I'm like, I'm Taco, whatever. It's not a big deal. I mean, I had coaches like, you can't call him Taco. He's white, you know, because you have Nacho on the team, this and that. And it was like, I don't care. And so all my friends from high school, when they're in the stands, would yell out, Taco! And then I turned my head and they're like, why do you want us to yell you that? Isn't that like ragging you? And I'm like, no. People would yell, Taco Bell. And I'm like, that's a fan trying to get in my head where I'm just being me and you could just call me by my nickname back in the day and it all worked out. People call me Taco. So, yeah. So now this podcast is going to come on and I hear a lot more tacos. But
Yeah.
it's my two nicknames. That's literally my email.
So, do you remember the moment that you realized, you know, that you were gonna retire from baseball professionally, and what went into that decision?
My son was like, Dad, I need help in Little League. Can you help me out? And I went to spring training with Washington Nationals that year. And I just went to Matty Williams, the manager, and just said, hey, my kids need me at home. I think I'm going to hang it up. And he's like, I respect that. So that's kind of what I went home and did that. And then I coached Little League. So, and I didn't really look back. I mean, like I said, I had offers to come back from the next 2 years. And I just said, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate the offer.
Okay. I got to know, what is Heath Bell, the Little League coach, like? Is that team just straight up fun 98% of the time?
Yeah, pretty much. Once a week, we have practices. It's called Opposite Day. You got to hit the opposite way. You got to throw the opposite way. You got to run the bases the opposite way. I try to teach the kids how to play baseball, but fun. So, like, the end of every practice, I would try to hit fungos as hard as I could. They would all get behind home plate. But the key thing is, you know those squishy balls that they throw to the stands? They're all squishy. It's like squeeze them. Those are the balls that I would hit to. So I'd get behind second base and I would just be wailing balls and they don't hurt. and kids are just wearing in there and wearing them off their chest and loving it. And I try to have fun with a lot of guys. Like, I'll give you an example. That year, we had a kid from India or something. His parents wanted him to play ball to make friends. And he's like, didn't really want to play ball, and he was scared of the ball. And, you know, he was one of the last picks, and everybody's like, well, we'll give him to Heath. And I had a kid with autism. Well, this little Indian kid, I told him, I said, okay, are you scared of the ball? And he didn't want to answer yes, but I was like, I don't want you to catch the ball. I want you to catch it on one bounce. And one of the dads is like, what are you doing? Just trust me on this. So I'd hit fly balls, and then it was catch it onto the bounce, catch it on the bounce, right? And then about 2 weeks later, he comes to me and goes, Coach, can I try to catch the ball? I'm like, yeah. And then he turned out to be a pretty good player. You know, like, he could catch the ball. He's not that great, but he would catch the ball, throw it in, and good. And everybody's like, how'd you get him to catch the ball? And I said, I took the fear away from him. And then the kid with autism, I asked him, hey, where do you want to play? And he said, I want to pitch. So I was like, okay. I said, just go up there and throw as hard as you can. And I told everybody, don't worry, we're going to walk a few. Well, he turned out to be like probably a third best pitcher. And other coaches like, how'd you get him to pitch? And I said, I asked him where he wanted to play. Really? I'm like, yeah. And I knew he was going to walk people, but that was fine. But he threw the ball really hard. So, I mean, he would strike more guys out than walk, and it just kind of turned out to be good. And, you know, one year we didn't have a catcher, and when guys would steal, I wouldn't have them throw it down or turn double play. Let's just get one. That's always try to get one out, guys. So I made it fun for everybody, and everybody loved to be on my team, and it was just a good time. But I taught them, we played games, but it also learned baseball at the same time. And I just took the fear away from guys, and they just did so much better. Instead of like ridicule them, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to be a better hitter. Like, I'll give you an example, hitting wise. You guys play Little League, right? Maybe?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so when you swing at a high pitch over your head, what does the coach usually say?
What are we swinging at up here?
Yeah. And I always told my two dads, I said, we're going to encourage the kids. We're just going to say, great swing. Do it again. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, what happens? Don't swing at the high ones. So, you know, he swings two high ones, and the next one is right down the middle, and all their thing is don't swing it high. Don't swing it high, and it's right down the middle. It's like, why didn't you swing at that one? I just encouraged them, great swing, because I knew the pitcher wasn't trying to throw it that high. The pitcher was trying to throw a strike, and eventually he's going to throw a strike. He might throw too high or too down that you swing at, but then eventually the third one's going to be a strike, and we're going to be right on it. So my team was swinging all the time, and we ended up hitting the ball a lot because I never told them, don't swing at that pitch. I just said, good swing, do it again. And there you go. The pitchers weren't that smart enough to just keep throwing balls.
That's fantastic, because what I've noticed, because we've coached our kids and other kids in, you know, my Little League. It's like you tell them don't swing at the high stuff. All of a sudden they don't want to swing at anything because they're afraid of getting.
You just told them don't swing. That's what they hear, and that's what they're telling themselves. Don't swing at that pitch. Don't swing at that pitch. Not let's swing. Just take the fear away. Swing at everything. Let's go for it. They'll eventually want to just swing at the pitches they can hit. But that's how it was with me in Little League. Had a good time.
You know, so now I'm curious, you know, when you're talking to these kids, and, you know, what advice do you give them when it comes to baseball?
Have fun. It's a game. Have a good time. Practice as much as you can. Pretend like there's a reality. If you want to make it to the major leagues, if there was a camera on you 24/7, would the fans know that you want to play baseball and that's all you ever think about? I said, if that's the case, then you have a chance to get to the big leagues. But if you're playing video games and doing this and doing that, the fans don't know that that's all you think about is baseball, then you might not make it. So just have a good time, enjoy it, embrace it. There's so many tournaments now. There wasn't one around when I was. So have some fun, enjoy it, take a bunch of pictures, and just embrace it. That's what I tell the kids now.
That is awesome. And so, how often do you reflect on your career and the accomplishments? Does it ever come up?
When people bring it up, that's pretty much the only time. When people ask questions about it, otherwise I'm thinking about, man, I wish my kids were young again. I wish I could do this with them again. I wish they were around the house more. My daughter with Down syndrome, which, she does a lot of Special Olympics with bowling and cycling and swimming. I embrace myself with that stuff, and I do a lot of that stuff. And I do coach some, do pitching lessons and coach in some like independent ball sometimes. The MLB Draft League, I've done that. But unless people ask me about my career, it doesn't really come up much.
If this conversation was the only thing someone ever hears about Heath Bell, what do you hope they take away from your story?
That I just enjoy life or whatever I do, and I worked really hard I had a dream, I worked hard, I accomplished it, but I just had a lot of fun doing it.
That is the best way to sum that up. That's fantastic. All right, Chris.
So I have some fun ones. Favorite jersey you ever got to wear?
The Padre camo jersey.
Ooh, yes.
That one is nice. What is the one teammate that you could wish you could have one inning against, just for bragging rights? Who's that one guy you want to K that was a teammate you never got to pitch against?
Adrian Gonzalez. I think I could strike his ass out, but I don't think I ever faced him.
That's I was gonna say I don't think so, because he was your teammate, and then by the time y'all weren't
then he went to Boston, and we weren't playing in the American League, National League. We just never got to play against each other.
So you mentioned something earlier. Best prank you can tell us about that you got, and who'd you get?
Best prank. God. Probably Nick Hundley. I think it was Nick. I'm not 100% sure, but I gave him one night, I gave him a bunch of wake-up calls at the hotel. And then, but then the next night, I gave him a bunch of room service, like every other hour in the middle of the night. Like champagne and, chocolates and this and that. So, yeah, he wasn't too happy, but it was pretty funny.
That is awesome. That's a good prank.
That is pretty good. He didn't get much sleep that night.
Favorite bullpen to warm up in?
Favorite, Philly. I loved Philly. So the fans would jar you.
What makes it your favorite?
The fans knew a lot about you, and they'd yell at you, and you could yell, like, "Hey, Heath, I thought you probably had about 4 cheesesteaks, haven't you?" And I'm like, "No, I had 5." And they're like, "What? How many beers did you have?" And I'm like, "Shut up, I'm starting to throw." And he's like, "Well, we're getting in your head." And I'm like, "If you're in my head, you better have a beer waiting for me after the game." And they just start yelling and like, "Oh my gosh, I love you." So it was just fun. It was fun to jar back with those fans. Those guys were always great.
All right, so this one I can only ask because you're the only bullpen arm that does it. Favorite outfield to run through? Because I feel like some of these turfs nowadays, I feel like I wouldn't want to run on.
Petco Park has the nicest grass, but besides them, the nicest grass I would have to say is probably Dodger Stadium. So
Yes.
Yes. Why?
My mission is accomplished to hate on the Dodgers.
Yeah. So. But they have a nice field. They really do. I wouldn't say the stadium is awesome, but the field is really nice. They have the best pitching mound to pitch on. Their bullpen's different than the field mound, but they're actually field mound the nicest. So I'd probably say that's probably the nicest place to run on, besides Petco.
What was it like taking over for Trevor Hoffman?
Everybody always asked me that. They were like, how do you feel his shoes, this and that? And I said, look, Trevor's the legend. He's number 1 in San Diego. I just aspire to be number 2. And 2, he wears a size 14 shoe. I wear a size 13. So I can't fill his shoes, guys. So I'm not even going to try. And I'm going to try to be number 2. And I accomplished that. So I wasn't trying to be him. I wasn't trying to take over him. I was just trying to be myself. And he's number 1, the legend. And I just tried to be a fan favorite. And that's all I tried to do. So I just tried to do it a little my own way and not try to do it his way because, he's a legend. How can you take over that? You can't. Just be yourself.
So I'm going to tell you, as an opposing fan, because I'm a diehard Braves fan, I would watch San Diego games just for you. Because I'm like,
cool.
You bring the excitement out of the bullpen. Because I will say, I have a love-hate with bullpens because I'm like, half the time y'all are on camera, they're just sitting there, and I'm like, they nonchalantly just walk out. They're like, I got to come do something. Where you're like, all right, it's my time. You made watching the bullpen fun. All right, Heath's coming out. It's time to. I actually used to try to time you to see how long it took to see if you were consistent times. And my dad would laugh at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "They keep cutting the camera. I don't know how far he is to stop my timer." And he's like, "Why are you timing?" I said, "This man, I feel like he's faster than some of the players running the bases. Like I feel like you could have been the greatest pitch runner."
Oh yeah.
I feel like you could have been.
I know how to run the bases.
The greatest
I know how to run the bases. Well, because
he also knows how to slide too.
Yeah.
I used to power shag, so I'd be sprinting all over the field all the time. To pretend to be an outfielder during batting practice, that was my fun. Like, this is the time I get to shine. I'm an outfielder. I had an outfielder's mitt and everything. And in the bullpen, as a closer, I would come out there before the game started, and I was out there the whole time. And I was probably fooling around the first 5 innings, and then I started, focusing. But I was out there having a good time. That was my thing. Like, I'm not going to be in the clubhouse and wait. Okay, am I going to be able to go in the bullpen to time to close, or we're losing today, so I'm not going to go down there? No, that's my home. That's basically my home away from home is the bullpen. And I will tell you, when I'm like coaching, being the pitching coach for professional teams, when I do that sometimes, it's awkward being in the dugout the whole time. I would rather be like in the bullpen, but I know as the head pitching coach, I got to be in the dugout. But I would rather be in the bullpen because, like, my motto for the bullpen and always been this way: do whatever you want to do, just don't get caught. That's all you got to do. We could do whatever, just don't get caught. So it might be different now because there's cameras everywhere. Like, cameras are shining at the bullpen in every direction. So, but back in the day, they didn't care about us as much. The cameras used to be just on the mounds, and that was it.
I've been dying to know this. How cool is the reliever trophy that Rolaids sponsor in person? How cool does it look?
It's really cool. It's a statue with a fireman's helmet on it, and I got the last 2 that was ever given out. So there's a little trivia question.
Yeah. When I was doing research, I was like, man, I've always wanted to see one of these trophies in person because at the stadiums they never have these trophies. They just have the Cy Youngs, who won. I'm like, what about the reliever trophy? It's cooler.
It's like the Trevor Hoffman Award now or something, but it was it's like a little statue, but then a fireman's helmet on it. And I always thought that was the coolest thing. Firemen come and save people, and the bullpen's always been relabeled as the firemen down there. And I used to, in Petco Park, Sundays, I would always bring breakfast to the firemen in left center. There's a firehouse there. And I did that in New York a couple times too. But yeah, I used to play wiffle ball out there sometimes with those fire guys. So there's actually, if you look around, there's a little video of me and some of the bullpen guys doing a fireman shoot in New York somewhere. It's online somewhere. Should try to find it. It's pretty
I'll
fun.
have to do some research.
Remember New York had that like fan cave or something that they had, like show
Yes.
before MLB TV. It was part of that. And I was the only guy to go there. Every time we went to New York, I went and just stopped in and said hi.
That's man, you got to do some really cool stuff. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. If I wrote a book, it might be like a couple books because there's a lot of cool stuff so.
Yes, sir. Hey, again, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us. We look forward to another opportunity and maybe a different time. So thank you for joining us on Inside the Foul, sir.
Oh, we'll do this on my lazy river.
Oh, yeah.
I have one in my backyard.
Sir. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.